content warnings for mentions of suicide, recurring nightmares, and addiction. How do you leave a liminal space? It should be easy. Just go through a door. But what if you're not ready? What if you're paralyzed by fear? Fear of the unknown. Fear of change. How do you leave? The Moth Inside Me is a free itch.io horror game by Sodaraptor that explores the creator's recurring and repressed dreams. It is a surreal, frightening, and beautiful experience. In this game, you walk through a version of Sodaraptor's recurring dreams, collecting little balls of light to offer to the beating heart chained to the living room. I've played it through twice now, once by myself, and the second time I recorded myself playing the game with you, my viewers. At first, I wasn't sure if it counted, necessarily, as a liminal space game. I considered that dreams could be liminal spaces, a space between waking and waking. But the more that I thought about it, about the symbolism, the dreams, and conclusion, the more I realized that liminality doesn't have to be a straight-cut thing. It is simply a space between and things that happen there. In this game, it is the space between living in a house and moving out of it, and the severing of ties that it involves. In this video, I will discuss the environments, the dreams, and the symbol of the moth. For the environments, I think it's best if I give a summary of the plot while describing the environments. You awake in your bedroom, or perhaps it is not your bedroom. Is the sleeping white form your body, remaining stationary while your spirit roams? Or is the person someone else, someone whom you watch over at night to guide through their dreams? The house is dark. You have a closet, a laundry room, and a long dark hallway filled with photos. Within the closet is a single box of mothballs. Over time, the house morphs, adding bedrooms, bathrooms, and kitchen. In the living room is a large fleshy mass, chained to the walls, surrounded by fluttering moths. I think it is a heart, but it doesn't sound like a heart. It sounds like a person whispering, clearing their throat. It sounds like clinking metal and papery wings. One chain pierces a door that can't be opened. Venturing back into the house, a new sound emerges, a beating heart, coming from the bathroom. When you pull back the shower curtain, you see a glowing red ball emanating the sound of a heartbeat. Moths surround it. You pick it up. When you return to the living room, the little ball floats to one of the 4 plinths surrounding the heart. Every time you venture through the house, it changes. Doors appear where there were no doors before, and they vanish just as easily. Furniture rearranges itself. Just like in dreams, the architecture of the house constantly morphs, while still keeping the same basic structure. The bedroom is always next to the closet. The bathroom is always on the right. New objects appear that activate dreams. A folder triggers a dream about working in an office with long hallways, locked doors, and computer rooms located next to swimming pools and black holes. The atmosphere is oppressive, with heavy shadows and harsh light. A bottle of bourbon takes you to a huge snow-filled warehouse filled with crates of bourbon. Bright and airy, the atmosphere contrasts with the weight of addiction. A maze of bottles to lose yourself in. A chasm that can only be crossed by falling. The final dream is triggered by a VHS, taking you to a neighborhood about to be consumed by two black holes. Locked houses, a white form hunched in front of a TV, while a black hole warps the sky. It almost feels like a childhood memory with the fawn in the car. At first, the form kneels in front of a fawn, sitting in the road in front of a car. And then in the next moment, the fawn is dead. It was hit by the car. Each time that the dream shifts, the black holes grow, as if consuming a childhood that you can't return to. Each time you awake from a dream, tally marks appear on the bedroom wall. Possibly these tally marks symbolize how many times these recurring dreams have happened. Each time you give a ball of light to the heart, a chain breaks. More and more moths flock around the house, and more boxes of mothballs appear as well. The house seems to decay all around you. Stains grow on the walls. Fleshy lumps grow in the sink. As the heart grows closer and closer to freedom, the house rots. The moths close in around you. It gets harder to see. I've not really been explaining how these environments show a liminal aesthetic, but I don't think I need to. The constantly shifting environment, the dark hallways and bright mazes, the spaces that linger on the edge of destruction. Everywhere feels like a place between places. At last, the final chain breaks, and the heart drops through the floor. Venturing through the newly opened door only takes you to an infinite hallway segmented by doors. You awaken back in the bedroom, which is now haunted by black forms in distress. It's not until you drop down the hole where the heart fell that you finally awake in daylight. The blue sky streams through the windows and roof. The rot is gone and the moths have fled. The absence of furniture makes the house feel clean and fresh. For the first time, the form, or the person I should say, speaks to you. They're moving out of their house, but they will miss the happy memories that they made here, as evidenced by the abundance of photos. But now that you've walked through their dreams with them, they're ready to move on to the next place. The game ends with the moth emerging from its cocoon. The game says, the moth is inside you now, or maybe it was there all along. Before I attempt to untangle the symbolism of the moth, I'd like to discuss the dreams. Although there are 4 balls of light and multiple sequences in the shifting house, I will only focus on the 3 distinct dreams that take place outside of the house: the office, the warehouse, and the neighborhood. It seems to me that these dreams focus on 3 aspects of the dreamer's past: stress, addiction, and childhood. It is very, very likely, in fact, it is certainly the case, that my interpretations of these dreams are based on my own dreams. I think that's okay though, because people tend to have similar dreams sometimes. For instance, the dream where your teeth are falling out. The office dream reminds me of dreams where I've had a task to accomplish that should be simple, but that I never complete. I will dream that I need to fill out a worksheet, write an essay, pack my suitcase. But my house turns into a maze. The words I write turn to gibberish and the questions change. The office dream in the game starts with a long hallway lined with locked doors. Where are you supposed to go? You can't go anywhere but forward. You make it to the office only to discover the dreamer hunched in front of a computer, the glare of the screen washing out their form. No one else is there. Perhaps they are working late, facing the long, interminable hours of incomplete work alone. You can't leave until you click on both black holes. It seems to me that the trauma of this dream, as it is portrayed in the game, is that of working long into the night. To be clear, I am not at all trying to psychoanalyze the game developer, but I am trying to interpret this dream in the context of the game, as it is presented to us. If you've never stayed up until 4 a.m. working on a college final that you have to present at 8 a.m., desperately hoping that your morning bird parents won't wake up anytime soon, while your computer takes forever to render a 45-second animation, then you might not understand why working long into the night on a computer would be an upsetting experience. Once both black holes disappear into the darkness, a glowing heartbeat appears. You take it with you back down the hallway of locked doors, back to the bed, where you awake with the ball next to you, surrounded by moths. Carrying this ball made me feel protective of it. It was small and glowing, and its steady heartbeat made it feel as though I held a little life in my hands. My interpretation is that these little heartbeats represent a piece of the dreamer that lives in the dream, and by removing the heartbeat, you are releasing them from the dream. Make him move on now. The second dream is about addiction. To activate the dream, you have to look in the fridge, which has been locked by 2 chains. Inside the fridge is a single bottle of bourbon, and nothing else. The bottle takes you into a snow-filled warehouse, like a gigantic fridge, with boxes presumably full of bourbon. At the center of the fridge warehouse is a living room setup, where someone sophisticated might relax after a long day with a glass of alcohol. Dropping down reveals the truth behind the sophisticated facade. An incredible loneliness, a maze of alcohol. The dreamer sits by a window, facing the floor, an empty bottle dropped from their hand. It is a melancholy scene, with the red light of sunset casting its shadows around the lone figure. A dark chasm splits the warehouse in two. The dreamer sits on the edge, peering downwards. There is no way to cross it. No way but down. It is often the case that people with addictions cannot or will not seek help until they hit rock bottom. Possibly it's because they can't deny it anymore. And on the other side of the chasm, rows of shelves with nothing on them. No more bottles. Space to breathe, to rest. I touched on this earlier, but the final dream in the neighborhood appears to be about growing up. The fawn, which represents innocence, sits in the road with the dreamer. As you get closer, the fawn turns to face you. Or perhaps it's actually turning away from you. Deer have side-facing eyes. When you try to interact with the fawn, the scene changes. The fawn is dead, and the dreamer has vanished. The black hole in the sky has also increased in size. When you find the dreamer again, they're sitting on a merry-go-round, hunched over their legs. Soon, the 2 black holes consume the sky, and you are left wandering in the darkness, guided only by the faint pinprick of light from your bedside lamp and the heartbeat in your hands. In each of these dreams, the dreamer is leaving something behind: a job, an addiction, and a childhood. It is only after removing these anchors that the dreamer is finally free enough to leave their house. The symbol of the moth is one that has puzzled me for a while, and that is because I associated them with innocence. I considered them like butterflies, beautiful and light. I forgot that they eat clothes. I forgot that they like to fly too close to the flame. According to dream interpretation and symbology websites, moths represent darkness and nightmares. They have also been used to symbolize suicide because of their tendency to fly into candle flame. The game directly acknowledges this association through the blood-filled bathtub and the bloody towel. But moths can also symbolize change and transformation, which is exactly what the dreamer in the game is resisting. They don't want to leave their house. Or perhaps they do want to leave, but their memories hold them back. Each of these associations with the symbol of the moth explains the abundance of mothballs around the house. Perhaps the dreamer is trying to get rid of their nightmares, their suicidal desires, and even the change that the moths bring. At the end of the game, the moth comes to live inside you. Or perhaps the moth was always there, and it is only now that you realize its presence. For all the darkness that the moths symbolize in this game, it doesn't feel like a bad thing to have the moth inside you. When the game says that the moth lives inside me now, I felt as though I became a sanctuary for that moth. It felt as though one of those little heartbeats had become part of me. Because we walked with the dreamer through their dreams, we now share in them. And because we share the dreams, the burden that the dreamer carried has become lighter. And that is how we leave this liminal space. We share it.